You've talked about the disconnect, it would seem, between the economic growth that we're witnessing and it would seem the political economy as Nigerians are experiencing it.
Yes.
I'm wondering, what do you think has caused this disconnect? Because if we talk about 3 years ago, people could see that there was danger ahead.
Yes.
And eventually we did fall into that pit of a recession.
Yes.
We're getting out of it now. It seems that we're making incremental growth.
Exactly.
As you rightly pointed out, inflation is going down and we have all of the stats showing that it looks like we're making progress. But then we've always seen a situation whereby we have made progress in the past. One of our analysts did point out yesterday that we've always grown at a rate of between 5 to 6%. We're looking at 7% initially.
Yes.
But the problem has always been that Nigerians say, we're not experiencing this growth. We never feel this growth. It never gets down to the grassroots. So it would seem that, first of all, this experience is not new. But it would seem that right now, it's even more expedient. I mean, even as we approach a political year, what do you think is the cause of that disconnect?
I think you have a point, but only up to a point. During the Obasanjo years, of course, the World Bank wrote a report called Jobless Growth. Growth was very impressive, but the people were not feeling it because most of it came from capital-intensive sectors like telecoms, petroleum and gas sector. They were not recruiting mass people for jobs. So, things were happening, the figures were looking good, but the people weren't feeling the impact. But generally, people had this feeling that things are going to go up and that the life chances...
They were more optimistic then?
They were more optimistic because the country offered them a sense of purpose, a sense of meaning, and a sense of rational expectations that despite whatever difficulties they may have, things were going to improve. But what we are facing today is not that. So there's a substantial difference. What we are facing today is collective despair. People are feeling that, in fact, the country might not even survive. People are, yes.
Do you think that the optimism they felt then was also because democracy was young? I mean, this is 19 years down the line. People are already beginning to say, is democracy what we should be having as a system of government? Is this the best system of government? I mean, there are all sorts of debates. China is making a lot of progress. People are, out of poverty and they don't have democracy.
Yes,
you have those kinds of conversations as well.
But there are no rural bandits in China
my point
slaughtering thousands of people, sometimes with the connivance of the armed forces. Some of the vigilantes have caught people in some of the rural parts of the Middle Belt. They caught them, arrested them among the rebels to find that actually there is a captain in the Nigerian army, a current servant captain. They've caught people like that. General Danjuma talked about it. The country is getting very divided. The army are taking sides. General Danjuma said it. He's a general of generals and as patriotic as anybody can be.
Even though there was an army panel that was set up.
Sorry?
An army panel was set up.
To investigate those comments?
And they contravened it.
That's a kangaroo panel. You cannot be a judge in your own court. It's just, I don't want to use expletives, but it is silly to be a judge in your own court. Doesn't make sense.
But
you cannot dispute General Danjuma's patriotism. You can't even question it. He's a patriot and he's a general of generals. What he says, he never says out of flippancy.
What do you think?
Sorry, people are dying. People are dying in their thousands. And people are quiet. And it is getting very genocidal. And it is sending despair all over the country. So and it is capable of destroying our country.
Do you think it was possible that if we were not experiencing this level of deaths, I mean, that we've seen in the last couple of months especially,
yes,
that we will still be in a situation where we would question if our democracy was working, even with the level of growth that we seem to be experiencing in the economy?
Definitely, it would have been better. And you see, the government has scored an own goal. And I speak actually as a friend of this government. I like General Buhari, President Buhari personally. I like him. I know he's a good man, but, you know, he needs to, you know, the buck stops with him. There are certain things that are profoundly wrong in this country. And we must be serious.
What's the own goal?
Sorry?
You said the government has scored an own goal.
It's got an own goal in the sense that you allow this banditry and killings to go on and you pretend that you don't see it.
But they spoke about it today.
And then it is destroying the agricultural foundations. The interventions are achieving a lot that the central bank is bringing. Actually, we are getting less dependent on rice importation, which is a good thing. But you see, things would have been 10 times better if these rural bandits, many of them from foreign countries, hadn't invaded the breadbasket of the nation, which is the Middle Belt. If they hadn't done that, look, people are so, I'm a village boy. I come from a village, and I still go back very often. Last weekend, I was in my home village, and it is bad. It is very bad. If we hadn't scored that own goal, food sufficiency in Nigeria, the abundance of food would have triggered high rural incomes, which would have translated into
if I could jump in
demand.
And bring in states.
Sorry?
If I could jump in, let me bring in the states at this point, because it does come across as though almost everyone relying on the federal government's efforts, unilateral alone, to see how they could revive the economy. But we also know that states have a huge chunk, and people live in those states. And so if they pull their weight, perhaps that will even do better. Are we disregarding or discountenancing whatever the states have got to do to ensure they contribute their quota?
Not at all. Not at all. They ought to do more. Unfortunately, some of the states are even part of the rural bandits we are talking about. The governors, some of them are involved with them. They're arming some of those criminals to invade communities and kill people. They're actively involved in it, encouraging them, bringing some of them from outside, because they believe they want to depopulate certain people so that